Angus Young, how you doing?
Good, Becko.
The Offspring.
How's it going, Becko?
Dave Grohl, how you going, mate?
Good, man.
Pete, it's been a long time coming.
Oh, Becko, hasn't it indeed?
We go inside the dressing room, speak to the biggest names in music,
Keith Richards, the Rolling Stones.
and crack open their esky.
That's exactly how I imagine you, by the way, sitting opposite me with a vodka and orange.
You're a discerning chap. This is The Rider.
Hey, it's Becko. Welcome back to The Rider. Now, last week, Tex Perkins, who you know from The Cruel Sea, The Beasts, and of course, Tex, Don and Charlie, and a bloke with a lot of stories, and definitely someone who's done the hard yards over the years. But one of the all-time great stories, if you missed it, Tex talking about the Stolen Arie Award. And they forgot about it for over a decade, and then it just popped up on Marketplace many years later. But it's the backstory that made it so good. Go back and listen to last week's episode of The Rider. And, of course, click follow as well, no matter what service you use, whether it's Spotify or Apple or even Google. This week on The Rider,
Promise me it's gonna be alright.
the band from Perth, I'm talking about Voyager, who represented Australia at Eurovision this year in 2023. You might have seen this performance. This band Voyager got a brand new album out. And they're on tour as well. They're hitting Europe as we speak. And an Aussie tour coming up in February, going right across the country. We've got Alex from the band Voyager. Now, Alex, whereabouts are you, mate?
I'm at home, and I just got my baby off to sleep.
You got a good excuse.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Well, congratulations. I mean, this is your 8th album, but you nailed the timing perfectly when you think about it because, you know, within the scene, you know, people know you, but until you stepped on that stage, a broad amount of Aussies finally know who you are.
Yeah, well, you know, spent how many years? Like 15 years trying to get people to know who we are. So yeah. I feel like we ripped a big part of the Band-Aid off in one go with Eurovision. That's the way I see it. There's still a little bit of the Band-Aid left. In terms of exposure, I don't know if you can get much better.
Well, everyone knows all about it. There's been a movie about it recently as well, just to give it a bit more of a push. But everyone loves it. It's got a cult following. You know, we all know people who've flown to Europe for Eurovision to just be a part of it. You had Aussies flying over to Liverpool just to see you guys play and support you.
Yeah, who'd have thunk it, right? It's pretty big, like you say. I didn't really realize how big it was either until I was over there. And even sitting in the audience, it's like, oh my God, all right, I get it now. I finally get it. This is what all the fuss is about. You know, it's a wild experience.
Tell me about the moment you guys decided to give it a crack, though, because it is a huge process. There's sort of auditions and, you know, you got a lot of steps before you can jump on that plane. How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it starts with us campaigning for it in 2015, you know, with a hashtag Voyager for Eurovision. And really it was just our fans. They're like, oh, you guys are so kind of like uplifting with the music and, you know, you put on a performance, you'd be great for Eurovision. Ha ha ha. Yeah, sure. Why not? You know, gig's a gig, right? So let's just try and do a hashtag. Guy Sebastian gets in, Kate Miller-Heidke gets in, and we're like, there's no way. Like, how we're a progressive metal band from Perth. Like, why would we ever? How would we get in? So it was really, I guess, our manager has a lot to thank for it because she was just persisting over the years. And then we kind of, once everything lined up, we had a song ready to go. We submitted it to the portal, and it did pretty well. So come second in Australia Decides, and then the rest of the year plays out. You know, we record Fearless in Love. We think, oh, well, that's the Eurovision thing done. That's cool. We gave it our best shot. Then we got asked, or it was suggested to us that we maybe try and do another song. And we were kind of like, we'd rather just focus on the album, to be honest. You know, we'd go back to what we've been doing, what we know. So we thought, well, screw it. Let's just try, because if we don't try now, then we probably will never do it. So we end up writing Promise and get internally selected, and the rest is kind of history.
Oh, it's just insane. And I didn't realize you had a crack, as early as 2015 as well. So, it just shows the finished product just all the more satisfying to make 9th. I mean, that's epic for a country like Australia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah. I mean, the top 10, that was my minimum goal. I was like, I want to be in the top 10 and I can walk away from the whole thing feeling really good. And I think even top 10 was just super ambitious. Like I didn't quite realize how ambitious it was until we were over there. But we won our semi-final too as well. So that's like 50% of the acts we crushed with the voting, which is a huge accomplishment. And so that's almost like its own little achievement as well, I feel. But yeah, top 10 in all of the world in Eurovision is like it's pretty good.
And as you said, you recorded the album and you were kind of mentally moving on and thinking, oh yeah, that's done, and we'll have a crack again next year or something. So you've got the album vinyl pressing done as well, without having that song in there. I think it's Promise, and that's also sent off to the factory. And now, if you want to get the vinyl version of the album, it's not actually on there.
I know, but it makes it super collectible.
It does. No, it does, though. And by the way, that is a great way of supporting your artist too, is actually getting the hard copy, because I've noticed with certain bands, they might be charting in, say, top 10, but as soon as the album chart comes in later in the week, it can make you go number 1. It's a big difference.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really hard. I mean, I've kind of been thinking about this the last week while we've been trying to push in your album. We're like, well, if we get people to buy it, then we've got better chance of charting, which means that we get ARIA recognition. And then if we can win an ARIA or get recognized in the ARIAs, that just, pushes the band up to the next level in Australia. But it's kind of like, I feel like we're really up against the industry, up against what people know, which is just stream it for free, or just, stream it on your platform. Well, I'm listening to it, so what's the big deal? It kind of feels like we have to get people on board with a pre-2010 way of doing things again, which is really difficult. So, it's quite. I don't quite know how I feel about it all just yet. Like I love that people support it, and I think what we need to do is have attractive merch options and attractive release options so that people can enjoy supporting the band and actually have something that's really nice and of course tangible like the old days. But I understand if people don't want to do that. I mean, we're kind of, it's in spite and I guess in the face of what everyone is used to at the moment. So it's tough.
Yeah, it is. And that's why if I can, I always have a rule of buying merch or buying a T-shirt whenever I go to a gig, because, it's a way of directly having the money go to the band usually. So, that and buying the vinyl is the way to go. But you're finding now you got all these fans around the world all of a sudden, and it must make you think, oh, we could actually, go and do a Euro tour. Like, why not?
We have toured Europe like consistently since I joined. I mean, we went and toured in Europe in 2008. That was their second tour, I think, and that was the first one for me. I just joined and I was 19.
Great.
So yeah, we're no strangers to just touring. We just never make any money off it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So and then like you start to reach, we're losing less and less money each time we go. And breaking even was like the measure of success. Like if it doesn't cost us anything at the end of the day, if we can cover our costs, then that's a major win. That's a major win.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I've heard similar stories from other sort of really big bands who still can't break even, but they got so many fans.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're like Ed Sheeran, I don't know how you're making money, or Muse or something like that. It's like, but then you like the extra layer of difficulty for a band like us is that we're from the most isolated capital city in the world, so it costs us thousands of dollars to even get to a gig. That and there's 5 of us, and we all have lives and. So logistically, it's very difficult, and as well as we want to put on the best show as possible. So we need lights, we need to hire an audio engineer. It's all got to be good. So yeah, I guess they're pretty unique challenges to Perth bands that are touring the world.
Yeah, well, and that's why so many Perth bands have unfortunately moved to Melbourne usually. Like, I think the latest example was when Birds of Tokyo, I think Kenny moved to Melbourne because it's just they were over there so much, less travel and save some money. But Perth it really bats above its average when it comes to its bands, though. What venues were you playing at when you started off over there?
I started off playing when I was like 16, so I had to sneak into a lot of them. The Castle, which was an old dive bar in Northbridge, Heat nightclub, the New Jive, the Swan Basement, the White Sands Tavern. A lot of these places don't exist anymore.
Oh, I went to Heat. Is that the one in the back of Maylands? Is that what I'm thinking of? Is that Heat?
Northbridge? But it's on the way. There's the Basso as well, which has had a redo. Amplifier Bar and Club Capital are still there. Club Capital has turned into Magnet House, and we shot our live Blu-ray there as well. And the Rosemount as well, which is still there. That's still thriving.
It's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're certainly part of that. You're not the Frio scene, but by the sounds of it, because a lot of the bands seem to obviously gravitate to Frio. And
I don't live anywhere near Frio, and I never have.
Yeah.
But I've played. Yeah, it was the Swan Basements in Fremantle, and what's it called? Not the Fremantle Hotel. Oh, there's Mojo's. I played there a couple of times.
Yeah. And Metropolis, I think, was the other one as well, which always had a few.
Oh yeah, Metro's Frio. Yeah, have played.
Yeah. Yep. So, that's super cool. I mean, like I said though, there's so many great bands have come out of Perth, and the obvious ones like obviously Birds of Tokyo and Eskimo Joe. But
Tame Impala is probably the biggest one.
And Tame Impala being the biggest one. And do you find it was very incestuous back in the day. I remember when one of the guys from Eskimo Joe was dating one of the girls from Lash.
So that's when I was growing up, and I'd spend, when I was in high school, if I had a class that had a computer on it, I'd spend my days on perthbands.com.au, which was and Western Front metal forums.
Yes.
And it was just all about bands. It's just all about bands being talked about. And I'd see all ages bands. I saw Voyager in 2003 when I was in year 10.
Jeez.
Yeah, they played an all ages show at the skate park, the Leadville skate park. And it is incestuous, especially in the metal scene as well. You just I was in, 4 bands at a time for a long while. Ash, our drummer's in a bunch of bands still to this day. Speaking of Eskimo Joe, I mean, I did a solo gig with Cav and I drove him down to Albany, and the guy that was doing his sound was, who was from End of Fashion as well.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You just get to know everyone. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. When I was living there, End of Fashion were just breaking, and that was such a big deal back then. And, and hopefully we'll see a bit more of them, soon, because they've put out some new music sort of fairly recently.
I think yeah, they are. Yeah, that's right. And even and then you'd go to the rehearsal space. I mean, before it became Hen House, it was VHS Studios, I think. And then you think, the business got bought by Rob Nassif, who's from Gyroscope as well, another big Perth band.
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah. And so he gets catch wins, and we rehearse there, and we know him, and there's lots happening in Perth. There's many great bands,
and it's good to see it's still thriving because it's tougher and tougher, but Perth's getting bigger and bigger.
Bands.
So
tribute bands seem to be the flavor of of this decade.
Some of those guys make a shit ton of money. Being a very very good covers band at a very very big pub, and they it's insane.
Do your corporate gigs and all the rest,
Because I know some friends who are in a reasonably big band. I won't out them, but they would occasionally play under a different name, and they'd do the casino, and they would just do covers. And I didn't know they were doing it. And they said to me, "Don't say anything to anyone about this because it was just taking the money. You got to support yourself." And
exactly. Well, I've been doing covers for 8 years.
Yeah.
Not in a. I mean, I've done it in bands. I've never been in part of a big corporate band. But I've played shows as fill-ins, on Barrow Island off the coast of Western Australia on New Year's Eve.
Oh, cool.
And Karatha. and all over, like so by myself often, and as part of a duo or a trio. And yeah, I mean, I was always very like, ugh, no way, I don't want to do that. And yeah, definitely had to reconcile with the fact that like I'm still in music. That's the main thing. I'm learning I'm getting better and better as a musician,
especially after lockdowns and a pandemic. No one's going to begrudge anyone of making money or supporting themselves in music. And you just finished the tour, so the tour just wrapped up a few weeks ago. Is that right? Your national tour.
Yeah.
What's next? Is there another one locked in, or maybe going back to Europe? What's the plan?
Yeah, going back to Europe in October. So we'll be there most of October. We're doing a lot of Europe and the UK, and we added another London show because the first one sold out.
That's great.
And we added Glasgow, and we're finishing in Liverpool.
I was hoping you'd say that because that feels appropriate.
It does, yeah.
And you're finding sometimes when we do these tours, particularly after doing Eurovision, hopefully the venues get progressively bigger and bigger and bigger as people catch on, and yeah, hopefully Liverpool is a big one for you.
Yeah, I mean, this is in our world. What you need to keep doing is just taking those small levels up, and then what you can do is get an idea about where you're sitting in terms of like the market and all the rest. So, like, it's almost better to be to err on the side of caution and book smaller shows that sell out, rather than we did Eurovision, now we can do stadiums, and then you book the stadium and it's like it looks really bad.
Don't worry, nothing beats a music festival that happened 10 years ago now, and they booked ANZ Stadium in Sydney because at that stage I think there was Aerosmith and maybe Van Halen on the bill, and they thought we could just fill ANZ. Unfortunately, they sold a couple of thousand tickets, and no one knows why it didn't sell that well. Sometimes you just can't pick it, but rather than filling a whole stadium, they couldn't get out of the hire. So the stage was kind of up against the grandstand, and on the second tier, you're looking down onto the stage. That's how close it was to the actual grandstand. I had the best view of Van Halen though, because I was looking down onto the stage.
We've done so many shows like in the time that we kind of we've always just slowly built up. That's why Eurovision was so fun for us, because we were like, we've struggled for so long and we've done the awful shit shows. So like, this is fucking fun. Like, this is like just being here is like a win for a band like us.
Well, that's the thing. You got the big budget lighting, the big budget sound. I mean, hearing you guys on a PA like that would have been nuts.
Yeah, and we're on like breakfast TV and stuff doing growls. It's just like, it's so bizarre that you can't even take it too seriously. We're just like, let's just have fun, because what else are we going to do? Like,
paint a picture of what it's like, by the way, in the green room for Eurovision, because I can imagine there are some people who are really relaxed and like other countries, and they're quite friendly and they want to get to know everyone, and there'll be other ones who are in full costume and makeup and they are in the zone and they don't want to fucking talk to you, and I can imagine it's like that.
It's almost like going to the Dubai airport or someone, just like people from all corners of the globe, like in one really like small area. And there's, Moroccan oil stuff going on, which I can't enjoy because I've got any hair. There's all the different delegations and people walking around, and you get to know people. There's other people that you see and like, wow, they're just like so out there and arty, like just people in all kinds of crazy outfits, and then hair, like crazy long hair. And I mean, it was depressingly dry. I'll say that. There was no booze. There was just like tea and coffee, and that's it. Like no food, nothing like that.
What?
Like kind of, yeah.
Especially Liverpool of all places. Bloody hell.
I know. And yeah, it's like we're a band. We used to having a rider. We used to be encouraged to to get a little bit lubricated.
Well, now on that, because that's why the podcast is called The Rider, because I want to ask everyone, well, what's in the esky? So you've established there's nothing in the esky at Eurovision, but what is in your typical esky at a gig?
In the esky or the crate.
Yeah.
We normally get at least one bottle of spiced rum. We'll get a bottle of red wine, or maybe 2 bottles of red wine. Danny and I like to drink the red because we sing, and it's like it's nice. But we're drinking a lot of spiced rum at the moment, and there's some coconut water on there in case we're like dehydrated, or it's a good way to get the electrolytes in. Powerade, some softies, and beer, like maybe like a case of beer if we can. The beer should be anything like good quality. So like it should be like an IPA or at least a pale ale, possibly even stouts or porters if we can. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at you guys go.
Yeah. In Melbourne, actually, the bar manager at Stay Gold, he got in some peanut butter porter for us as well. That was delicious.
I've always wanted to try that. I know it exists, and I think I've even seen it on tap. I tried this crazy beer that was like fairy floss, and it was obviously you can only have a small glass of it, and one's enough because it's just way too sweet. But it literally tasted like fairy floss. But I've heard the peanut butter porter is amazing.
It was delicious, yeah. So any kind of craft beer, I don't know, like the last year or two, I've really gone through like a hoppy. I never really used to be into hops, and I think I slowly just started to drink more pale ale and enjoy pales, and now it's almost like the hoppier the better. Like I almost can't get enough. I want it to be like hit me like ginger or something like like.
Well, it might be good for the system. And in fact, I'm hearing more and more of bands probably getting to their old age, really, who they all have a certain concoction that they have. There's a little jug side of stage where they have the lemon, but they have all these other things secret remedies and powders that they put in, and no one will tell me what they are because they all have the little secret remedy to ease the throat. Yeah.
Well, there's some things, I mean, when you're singing, it's a whole different thing because you kind of do need to take care of your voice. But one thing I will say about the covers is because I will like multiple times a weekend sing like 3 45-minute sets or sometimes 4 40-minute sets. I'm just like singing nonstop. You get like this stamina, so you're able to just kind of keep going and singing. With Voyager, though, it's a little bit different because I'm not singing lead vocals. I'm singing a lot of backups. And then the parts that I do have are often the most difficult vocal parts that I can muster because I just do them in the studio and then we have to work them into the set. So I'm going nothing, like I'm singing and then colder, then singing again. So I try and do like a little bit of warming up, but not too much. And just having like a lozenge like that. That helps, but I try not to be too precious about it. The part of me likes just fucking doing it, don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. And then, but night after night, you do feel that there are some things that you can do that will help. Sometimes you just have an off night. And that's the way it goes.
Scientists have looked at Barnsley's throat and they can't figure it out. They can't work out what makes it work. Because it shouldn't.
Barney's next level. Yeah.
They really have. They've done studies on it. They just can't work out how it still works and how he gets that sort of range and at his age particularly. And I can imagine growling for a whole night. That's a talent. I don't know how you could do that and back it up the next day.
Exactly. And that does get a lot of vocalists as well. It's just the heavy touring. And when you've got an hour and a half set, when you're doing 45 minutes, it's okay. But yeah, I think just warming up a little bit and like learning how to economize your voice, which is, this is a huge subject we could get into.
Well, no, it is. It's an art form. I mean, and not to mention, I guess, post-pandemic and everything, the bands used to go out and just get on the piss and have a huge night and then get up 4 hours later and get in the bus and go. A lot of bands now, because there's so much resting on every concert, you don't want to miss one. You don't want to be out for a week and maybe miss 5 gigs or something. A lot of them now are sort of traveling in these little bubbles as much as they can because they just don't want to risk losing one show.
It is quite irresponsible. I mean, it's probably once you hit, I mean, I know myself, like I toured all through my 20s. So, I mean, once you hit around I was maybe like 28 or something. And I was like, I don't want to be hungover. I don't want to feel like shit constantly. Like I'd rather just have a few drinks and really enjoy it. And instead of just getting drunk every single night. And you just blow your throat out. Even now I feel a little bit hoarse just because I've just done a lot of talking today.
Yeah.
And talking is normally what kills it for singers because they go out after the show, they go to a club or they go out into the crowd and the ambient noise is so great that you have to speak above it. And it's unnatural. It's unnatural to speak so loudly all the time.
That is a really good point. It's always that's got me as well, is if I'm a little bit under the weather with a slight cold, but then I decide to go out and you're shouting over the music and then wonder why you can't go on the radio the next morning or something, because you got no voice. Yeah.
It's just the horse. So it feels bad. But yeah, I mean, it sucks because you want to go out. You're on a high. You've just performed. But yeah, I mean, doing that whole set with your voice and then going out, yeah, man, yeah, thanks, yeah, just like hours and hours, and you don't realize you're doing it.
Yeah, and then you got the smokers and the smoke in the area as well.
Yeah.
So, are you still the new guy? Like, do the rest of the band treat you that way, or is that long behind now?
No, I'm not the new guy. No. I'm not even like. So I think I'm smack bang in the middle. So I think Danny, the singer, he started the band in 1999. And then Simone, the guitarist, she joined in 2005. Then I joined in 2007. And then Scott joined in 2010. And then Ash joined in 2011. This is the newest lineup. And we've been going for 12.
Imagine being the guy who left in 2011 and then seeing you on Eurovision a few years later. I mean, it's like, the guy who left the Beatles.
This guy that I'm speaking about, Mark DeVadimo, he left the band in 2008, I believe. And we just played with his band at Perth. They opened for us, Psychonaut, and then he got on stage and played a Voyager song that he wrote back in the day.
Great.
It was really cool. Yeah, it was really, really awesome.
I could imagine everyone's very proud, and that would have been just an insane moment to be on, worldwide TV. Were your parents staying up late and watching it as well?
Yeah. So my dad was there, so he came to a couple of the shows.
Great. Yeah.
What was cool though is my wife brought our son over. When was he? He was 4 months old. So she brought him, and he had his little earphones on, his little baby headphones.
Oh, great!
And his first big concert was Eurovision. Apparently, we played our song, and then he fell asleep.
Oh, I love that. Got to be proud. Well, look, congratulations, and I think everyone's so damn proud of this band, and it just proves that it is a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. It can take many years. Yeah. And more.
Long way to the shops, yeah.
It's a long way to the shops, but look, good luck for the European tour as well. And when you're back over here on the East Coast, I'll look forward to seeing you as well. I missed you on this last tour, but I'll check you out when you're next here.
Okay, hopefully early next year. That's what we're aiming for.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Well, look, Alex, thanks for the chat, and congratulations again, and we'll chat to you soon.
Thanks so much, Chris. See you, mate.
Alex from the band Voyager, and we're also proud after seeing them at Eurovision and now a brand new album. Catch them on tour in February.
This is The Rider.
Part 2 of this week's episode of The Rider, the band Goanna, celebrating 40 years of this song. This song has been all over the radio for many years, and I've heard it countless times, but what makes me proud as an Aussie is this song is taken on so many different forms. So many great young Aussie artists have had a go at this song. And, of course, if you go online right now, you can see plenty of different versions of it. Of course, you know Goanna from this song too. Razor's Edge. Shane Howard, he is continuously on the road. I'll be doing some shows in the Northern Rivers, including the Nimbin Roots Festival. G'day, Shane. How are you?
I'm good, Chris. And yourself?
Mate, doing really well. Obviously, we're very excited to have you in Nimbin for the Nimbin Roots Festival, October 14 and 15.
Looking forward to being there too. It's been a little while since I've been back that way. So, looking forward to getting back, seeing a lot of good people in that country. Been some tough times up in that country in the last few years, eh? So
well, it has, yeah.
Time to kick our heels up, yeah.
And I'm sure you've had many happy times there. And, of course, I have had many happy years up around the beautiful Northern Rivers hinterland as well. I mean, this is going to be a fun lineup as well. I mean, it's a beautiful spot at this time of year. We've got summer on the way. There's a smell in the air around October in Nimbin.
Well, spring, everything's brightening. Everything feels better. We're moving towards the end of the year. There's some kind of joyfulness about that time. Spring, the cozy duality of birds nesting and whatever, and new life and all that. So, good time to be celebrating being alive, really.
Well, exactly.
And
right.
great lineup too. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It is a brilliant
lineup.
and we're so looking forward to it. And I first of all, I can't believe it's been 40 years since Solid Rock came out. Like, it's certainly one of those very important songs, and radio's embraced it over the years, but I love how lately you've had new recruits coming in to have their little go at contributing to this amazing song.
It's extraordinary how that song, at the time I thought it was fairly topical, and I thought, well, to be honest, I thought we'd be a lot further down the track than we are in terms of Aboriginal rights, and I thought we'd be a lot further down the track in terms of treaties, all the promises made over the years from Bob Hawke back in 88 and all that. But the song won't go away, so it's extraordinary how many versions of it there are, and how many, as well, Chris, how many languages, First Nations languages it's been translated into Pitjantjatjara, into Polowakani, down in Lutruwita in Tasmania, in the Barkindji just happening this weekend. That's not all. Yongulmata, it goes on. And there's so many young people as well who have done versions, rappers, Indigenous rappers who've brought their voice to it and their poetry to it. It's an embarrassment of riches, really, and I'm so proud of that song, and I'm so proud of what future generations, that people carry that torch forward, keep carrying it forward. I feel like that song doesn't belong to me anymore.
When that song came out, that particular era of the 80s, you would have had a lot of people embracing it, as you would have, particularly touring with bands like Midnight Oil, who had similar beliefs. But also, I'm sure you would have had reactions of the other side as well at the time.
Yeah, copped a few spears from, not from white fella camp.
Yeah.
Lots of people. There are some funny stories, some funny reminiscences. And lots of people, for me, I felt like I had a fire in my belly, having been out into Aboriginal communities and having seen firsthand, the beauty of the cultural and sacred and spiritual tradition, that cosmology at work, back in the 80s, and having met some of those remarkable old people who are sadly no longer with us. And then, coming back into mainstream Australian society and seeing the racism and the prejudice and the disadvantage, the wreckage that colonisation had left Aboriginal Australia with. That duality of those feelings, it lit a fire in my belly, and often I'd be talking to people about it, often with media, and people would kind of glaze over and, but at the same time, every Aboriginal person in the country got it. Day one they heard it, and there was a lot of support in that world, and lots of non-Indigenous people, of our age at that time as well, really understood the same had that fire in the belly and the same understanding of the struggle for rights for Aboriginal people. So It was an interesting time back then, a time of a movement really finding its feet, and lots of non-Indigenous people coming on board to support that struggle for First Nations people. We're a lot further down the track than we were then. Now, we've still got a way to go, and hopefully this year will take us further down the road in terms of, really getting to the starting line of being a nation that is independent, a republic, a treaty. I dream of those things. I hope I see them before I die.
Is it a song as well that has educated you because maybe has different meaning for you now, 40 years later? Like you've probably learned things about, the country and the culture that you probably didn't know when you were that much younger.
Well, it certainly threw me head first into Aboriginal Australia, that song. And that journey that then opened up all around Australia, travelling the country over the past 40 years, it's just been a deepening, really, of that cultural understanding, and they're real stories, they're real connections, they're friendships, they're all over the country, whether it be the Pigram brothers in Broome and Jimmy Chai and all those beautiful people I met, all that Cookie Yulnji mob up in North Queensland, or the Northern Rivers, all these deepening Greenwich Mara country down here where I grew up and where I live now, and the Central Desert and all that mob out at Mutijulu, Uluru, and in that Pitjantjatjara Alangul country, Yolngu country, everywhere, this incredible deepening of relationship and understanding. And I just feel so blessed, I guess, Chris, and I just want to share that, I suppose, with those that I meet and try and convey those feelings in song as best I can.
You must be proud of bands like King Stingray who are getting such broad appeal at the moment, and they're genuine and they're real and they rock, and I'm sure you've seen them a few times.
That's great. They do rock. It's like the next generation. And because Stewie, Stewie's son in King Stingray, and Stewie was in the Aussie India course, and there you've got the next generation coming from that Yunupingu clan line and stuff, and it's like the torch gets passed on down the generations, and they do rock. They're great band. There's so many beautiful artists emerging, First Nations artists all across the country. We see the rise of the women too, and Emily Warramurra and Shelley Morris and Alice Skye, this lovely, gentle kind of feminine approach to things as well. And then that there's such a flowering now, which there wasn't back in the 80s, of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island First Nations artists. And of course, like I was saying, the women emerging as well, who are not only in music, but I think in general, and they have brought this very strong feminine perspective to every dimension of our reality.
And last year, when you re-recorded this album with Tasman Keith and Moss, that as you said earlier, it is so good to see the song take on different forms over the years, and it is certainly, it's almost like it's not your property anymore. Well,
it's like that. And when Moss was did the heavy lifting there, he's kind of a brilliant engineer and producer behind reimagining the track musically. And he said, I don't want to be disrespectful. And I said, just go for it. Just go for it. Yeah, you got carte blanche from me. And really brilliant, really clever, cut it up, reimagined it very purposefully. And then Tasman Keith is a brilliant wordsmith, I'm ancient, I'm current, my 60,000 turned into housing, turned into public forum, a new generation kind of smart, savvy, making it current, making ancient current, and really taking the challenge up to us to another generation, saying, okay, where are we going to take this country? What are we going to do with this? How are we going to be First Nations and non-Indigenous people. How are we going to make a country? How are we going to live here? How are we going to be purposeful? How are we going to be multicultural? How do we build a society worth living in?
Yeah, well said. Well said. And look, we are incredibly excited to have you come to the Nimbin Roots Festival. So October 14 and 15. Well, what are your memories of touring through the Northern Rivers back in your younger days?
It was always a great, lively space. I first passed through in 1975, hitchhiked through as a young bohemian, a young fellow with bohemian dreams of fire in my head, wanting to be a songwriter and a poet and a musician, and had no idea how that might possibly unfold. But I remember coming through places like Byron and Lismore in that country. It was very, very, very early days. Seeing people like, in the late 70s, seeing people like Richard Clapton play, at the farm, and then going to record at the music farm in Goanna days. Touring through Lismore was always a great place for Goanna. We always had great audiences there, great vibe. And Mullumbimby, all through that country. It's big country, big river country. It's beautiful country. And it's a great little band. So we'll kick our heels up and rock it out a little bit, dance a little bit, cry a little bit, laugh a little bit, feel something. There's great company there with, Dog Trumpet and
Bobby Arlo, it's
Bobby Arlo, incredible. Yeah, I don't know Bobby, hadn't seen him play before, so I'm looking forward to that. And of course the Doherty brothers, they're incredible. That kind of madcap, zany, but really, really, really clever musically. Good feeling, good fun. And after, a couple of years of COVID and all the kind of, hard bits that we had to go through, it's really good to be stepping out again and seeing people get around, having a good time.
That's the thing. It's, especially two massive floods in the region. And I think, all through the area, they're going to be really excited about this weekend. And it is a beautiful, beautiful country and beautiful people. And we can't wait to have you up, Shane. Look, thanks so much for the chat. And, I know you got a new single out as well, which came out last month. And we're just pumped to have more Goanna all over the radio. And Shane, thanks for the chat.
No worries, Chris. Thanks for that. We'll sing the blues away then, yeah?
What a great bloke. Shane Howard from Goanna. 40 years of the song, solid rock and so much more. Make sure you hit follow, whether this is Spotify or Apple, however you get your podcasts, because you'll have a brand new episode waiting for you every single week. This is The Rider with Becko. We'll catch you back next time.